Next up, we have the invisible economy. How do you make it visible? Why is it invisible in the first place? What's an economy? What does that word even mean? We're going to get all those answers and more from Bea and Sparrow. How are y'all doing today?
Good. Hello.
Very good. Very good.
Awesome. Awesome. Real excited to have you all on, and I'll just let y'all take it away.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
So let's try to do it in 15 minutes. We don't do deadlines and constraints anymore, but we'll try. So we are Dada, and Dada, for those of you who don't know, it's a platform that allows people to speak to each other through drawings. And everything that you see there is every panel is made by a different person, and so we are a beautiful community of people who are doing everything they're doing on the platform, just driven by intrinsic rewards. And so you have artists making art, but we also do all kinds of things outside the platform, and it's all intrinsically motivated. So what we needed to figure out is how do you actually monetize a community like this. So we got into blockchain about 4 years ago, right before all the NFTs were called NFTs, and then we started really working seriously about how to do this. So Sparrow, you wanna say anything about what is the invisible economy about?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest problem that we've tried to solve is we have a community already of people who are operating only through intrinsic motivations. And how do you add money into that equation without killing the intrinsic motivations of the people that are already there? And that's sort of the nut that we had to crack, and really understand how all of this stuff works and how it fits together and how we can protect what we already have on Dada. And it's been a really amazing journey, because what we found through the working groups is just the way people operate on Dada, drawing through intrinsic motivations and sharing their talents and the value that they create through their drawings, has been the same process that has happened in our working groups. We'd have 3 working groups a week. Some would run hours at a time. And yet everyone turned up voluntarily, contributing their ideas, their insights.
Yeah, we have an amazing group of people now.
Absolutely.
And so the thing is that we are living the invisible economy. So we published a paper last year, and then we decided, well, we can't just hire people and do this. We need to define the invisible economy by living it. And this is where these sense-making sessions come into play. And the thing is that we realized, we thought that the reason why Dada was such a healthy, beautiful community, so collaborative, is because people were making art, and the environment that was created in Dada was defining how people was behaving, because environments drive behavior. But then when we started the working groups, we realized that it felt the same, even in these like Zoom links, and it felt the same in the chat as well. In the chat, this is an analysis that Massimo did about the words on our chat, which can have 600 messages in a day. And it makes sense that the sentiment is positive, that it's a chat about an economy, and yet the first thing is art. The most used word is art, artist, and so just like in Dada, in which we don't have any, it's completely open. The chat is open. The working groups are open. Anyone can join. We don't have any trolling or bullying on Dada the same way we don't have any chilling on our chat. We don't have conflict. We don't have people. We go really deep into things, but yet, and we disagree a lot of times, but there is no conflict. We just go deep and work it out and listen to each other. So we wanted to understand what is it then that is making this possible.
And it comes back to the focus on the people. The thing that I find consistent across Dada as a platform for art, and the working groups as a platform for ideas, and the chat as a platform for interacting, is the connections between people. So we show up as people experiencing each other and responding to each other and valuing each other. And I think that is the bed of what the beautiful things that have come out from the invisible economy. That's sort of the fertile ground. That's the seed bed that allows everything else to grow. And
so it's interesting, like, for people to understand, is that we're asking people to just contribute to this, help us come up with, governance and this new system and these details, and it's so much work and so much time spent, and yet people come to us and it's like, thank you for allowing me to be part of this, right? And
it's really sorry, it's really groundbreaking work too, right? We're doing things and thinking about things that haven't been tried before. So it's not like we're just taking some recipe and following it. We're actually coming up with all of this together. No one knows the answer. We're working it out together. And that's a very special magic also.
Yeah. So let's go. I don't know how much time we have, but I try to go quick through the actual difference between the current markets and what we're doing. So if you go back for a second, the main thing about the invisible economy is that intrinsic motivations, when you replace them by extrinsic rewards, expected extrinsic rewards like money, they disappear or diminish, or sometimes just completely gone. So the invisible economy is basically the radical separation of, in our case, art, but anything that we do based on intrinsic motivations from the market. All of the things that are visible in a market become invisible. All of the things that are invisible in a market become visible. So let's just go quickly to see it, for people to see. So in a market, let's say the art market, the traditional art market, you have artists and you have collectors. Artists already start with a disadvantage, because the artists actually don't have the same bargaining power, because the artists need to sell, to buy food, to pay rent, while collectors don't have to. And so it's already starting in a disadvantage point. And then what happens is that the way markets work is that a bunch of artists are competing with each other, against each other, to sell stuff. Collectors are competing against each other to buy the things that have more value. And then the market is incapable of putting a value on anything that is not quantifiable. So art, in our case, becomes quantifiable, becomes an asset, becomes a commodity, and it becomes something that has value because it has a scarcity. So if the artist is dead, it's better, because then it can't produce any more art, and so on. So the way it works is that that price needs to be pushed up. And so you have a bunch of intermediaries, galleries, curators, the press, everybody's participating in the system. So that value, quote unquote, because it's really price, goes up. And at some point, there's a secondary market in which artists are not included. And then collectors continue to make money out of extracting value from the artist. So then blockchain comes along and will say, oh, this is the opportunity to give power back to artists. Let's change things. And so what happens with the crypto market, and it's very evident today, is that it's just the same thing. The mechanics are the same, the dynamics are the same. The only difference is that they're saying, well, now they're not intermediaries, but it's not really true. But let's say they're not intermediaries. That's the only difference. And then the other difference is that, well, now with the smart contracts, we can actually assign royalties to artists. So let's give only 90% to the collectors this time, right? So it's basically the same. And so the one thing the blockchain has, though, that is amazing is that the possibility to launch a token. Because the thing about tokens, and this is why it's called the Internet of Value, is because we can now replace price as the coordinator, the coordination method, and have a token in its place that can actually account for value that couldn't be possible before. That's why it's called the Internet of Value. But then what happens in the crypto art space is that, or in the crypto space in general, is that they launch a token to attract people to their platform or to fundraise, or they call it governance token. But it really is another asset that also has a price, that also is speculated on, and it becomes useless as a governance tool or as a community building tool. And so the environment that we have here is basically an environment of competition, scarcity, and speculation. The incentives are all extrinsic and all quantitative. So we put numbers next to people with reputations and rankings in leaderboards and so on. The outcome is actually the same as in the art market, which is few winners, extreme inequality, value extraction from artists is exactly the same. And what it's out of the boundary, the things that the market cannot account for, it's incapable of accounting for: intrinsic rewards, the qualitative, anything that is intangible. So people will ask us, well, so how can we just bring more collaboration? Like how? But you can't, because this environment is actually proven, tons of research and evidence that it makes us less collaborative, more competitive, more selfish, less ethical, more prompt to cheating, and so on. So, so what do we do? What is the difference with what we're doing at Sparrow, if you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so I guess, the way to start imagining the invisible economy is, we know that those outcomes that we've identified from the traditional art market and the current crypto art market were not the outcomes that we wanted to have. We wanted the collaboration. We wanted to value the intrinsic side of things. So we knew that we couldn't have the same system. And in fact, in order to get the opposite outcomes, we needed to do nearly the opposite of what everyone
does.
So, yeah.
That's the problem with constraints, right? We don't have constraints anymore.
So, I know. So we made the token invisible, right? Yeah. It accounts for the value on the platform. It accounts for the value of it that everyone contributes, but it's not visible. And we make those contributions, the intangibles, what's visible.
Do you want to show the next slide? Yeah. Yeah. So basically, our ground truth is the action in itself, whatever. You make a drawing on Dada, that's the reward. You're coding, that's the reward. You're contributing ideas, that's the reward. Intrinsic reward for yourself. And it's also the contribution to the community, because it's a contribution to the commons. And the entire environment, we don't need sanctions, we don't need to vote, we don't need to rules, we don't need to have constitutions. The entire environment, we don't even need to do anything to build community, is taking care of it by itself. And the token represents the value that everyone is contributing, and everybody's getting that reward as to honor the contribution.
Yeah. it does mean that once the environment is set, and we're really lucky that Dada already has that environment, all of these things then become possible. If you can imagine doing something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, so thank you. If anyone wants to know more, Power Dada on Twitter, just give us a shot.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for joining us. Dada sounds awesome. Everybody check it out.